Out more about how colors fit in South Africa, we spoke to Zinat Patel, who is a social media expert. Okay, so I am talking on the phone to Zinat Patel, who is a social media specialist who works in the social media industry. And Zinat is a really, really good friend of mine. She just happens to be half Indian, half colored. Hello, Zinat.
Hi, Stella. How are you?
I am fantastic. I've been talking to Dimple about what it means to be colored in South Africa, primarily because there was an incident that happened, I think it was sometime last year, about a school that went on strike because they had hired a black principal instead of a colored principal. And this got me thinking about coloreds in South Africa, because my impression was that I always included coloreds as demographically as black people. Or I always fell under the trap that you have blacks and you have whites, and under blacks you have black people and Indian people, and then under that you have whites. But as I came to understand, it's much more complicated than that. Because personally, it looks to me like colored people don't get enough representation in South Africa. Growing up as a colored person, how or half colored, half Indian, how has it been for you?
Well, for me, I grew up in a colored community. I still live in a colored community. It was always hard. You know, I went to what was then known as Model C school. So I had white friends. I was raised Muslim in a colored community. So I did all the, religious Muslim aspects. And I was never actually fully accepted, believe it or not, within the colored community. To some extent, still not so. I don't fully feel part of being colored, even though I am in a colored community. Within the community, though, everyone would just be like, no, you're an Indian girl. And I'd be like, no, I'm both, because I do feel, culturally, I grew up colored. So there was always that difficulty with me very young, where I had to, kind of divide myself between the two races. It's always been a battle of mine, which sometimes I still struggle with, actually.
That's actually quite hectic, the way you say it, because I asked my friend, I have another colored friend, I asked her about what it means to be colored, because you get black people that are colored themselves. So I wondered, how is it that a black person can be colored and a colored person can be colored? Is it about skin tone, or is it about a culture?
With me, that difficulty has always been, the forefront. Within my immediate family, my sister and I look nothing alike. She actually looks colored. She's got colored hair. She looks colored. She looks nothing like me. And she's accepted more so within the colored community. So it's very much, I think, with me in my situation, I always thought it was about how I looked. I don't look colored. I don't have hair like colored, which is weird because you get colors of so many different kinds. I mean, you get white colors, you get darker skin, you get olive skin, straighter hair, coarser hair. I mean, they're a full blend. So within the context of staying in colored communities, there's usually just those battles that when you personally identify yourself as colored, you are more, accepted in the fold, if I could say so. I was always Zinat Patel, being raised as a Muslim girl and not accepted as colored, with my sister, who has the same surname as me, but looks colored, she's been accepted her entire life.
I feel like colored people are almost always represented in TV or in society. Society has this picture of coloreds that they are dangerous people, that they wear a kavela and a Nike dry fit cap, they carry a carrymore, and they sometimes smoke dacha, and they sometimes carry knives. Why do you think there is this negative stereotype or perception of coloreds? Is it historically, or is it something that we've just invented?
You know what? That is something I always think about. I think colored people are usually always they're always on the fence. Colored people have always been on the fence during apartheid and now. Always been on the fence of either on the white side or on the black side. It's always been this identity group that has never been looked at well enough. Because, like you say, only the negatives have always been focused on. Whereas once you surround yourself with colors, once you come within the community of any color community, I mean, the passion that they have, the culture that they have, and the culture within themselves that they have found. I had a lot of friends from school whose parents always cared for them to come visit me and, you know, talk about gunshots and, you know, like you said, the drugs and the alcohol, which is something that is always put in the news. But I've never experienced that. I've lived here for 27 years of my life, and I have not experienced gunshots or drive-bys or, you know, kind of police busting through and finding drugs anywhere. Not once have I ever experienced that. So I think, and it is very much, you know, there are a lot of discussions among colored communities, and I mean, there are platforms. And our community, we have a Facebook platform where we debate these things critically. And I think it's just because we are such a small group. We are such a small group in South Africa that,
and of course, there's like 4.8 million colored people in South Africa. I mean, according to the last stats that I checked.
Yes.
And for me, I find it that this small group has a propensity to just stick together, and I don't know, it's such an interesting community that colored people have built up for themselves. In fact, one person was telling me that, and I was reading an article on News 24 last night about colored people not wanting to be black or not wanting to be associated with being black. And a lot of my friends in the black community don't recognize coloreds as part of the struggle. Is there some tension between black people and colored people? Because I'm not South African, so all these things are new to me. You know?
Yeah, no. Look, I know with the older generation, there's a common sentence that always goes about, in apartheid, we weren't white enough, and now we're not black enough. So because of that, and, you know, when BEE came in, and then, remember, then the divide was made. It was, like you said, all black people were put on an umbrella. It was colours and Indians included. And then now it's separated. It's black, coloured, Indians. So colours have always felt that, you know, they're always being pushed out. Yet, if you look at it historically, colored people come from South Africa. There's no other place where, you know, there's colored people. Colored people are from South Africa. So they would always feel like, okay, then what, Indians would go to India, white people go to Europe, and we'd go where?
Yeah.
We always felt that there is no place for them. So when it comes to that, I mean, there are colored people who literally I've seen get angry, physically angry, when saying, yeah, but you guys, you know, you're black, you fall under the black umbrella. They're just like, no, we are not black, we are colored. It's almost as if trying to suppress who colored people are to try and put them in another box, which they say, no, but we are in our own box. Look at us, we are our own people.
Sure. Did because of that, did colored people, like, because of colored people not having a set origin, because, you know, like black people, you can say, no, I came from Bantu people. Indian people, you can say, I came from the Malay place in India. But for colored people, is that where it all starts, not having a proper origin?
You know, I think so. You know, when I have conversations with my mom, because my mom's colored, and, you know, I'm like, tell me more about yourself. You know, like, her parents are colored, but then, like, her dad is mainly French and Dutch. And then, like, thinking your grandparents, you're like, oh, my grandfather was Indian. You know, if they had to trace it back and trace it back and trace it back, I mean, they just worldly, you know. They just worldly, yet they all, like a lot of people say colored people look different, but if you stay in a colored community, you're like, oh, I know you're colored, man. You know, you would just know, but it's inherently, you just know, because you grew up that way. So I personally believe, though, it is of not being able to, you know, somewhere when you research yourself, you find that you totally not who you thought you were at all.
I have a friend, and this is actually an interesting story. She's half black, half white.
Yeah.
And of course that would mean that she looks colored. But she doesn't really resonate with the colored community. Just according to you, do you think that it's maybe because she doesn't want to be associated, or because she doesn't find herself in there? Sort of like a Trevor Noah situation.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he had, you know, the similar experience.
And with Trevor Noah, it's interesting because he was fortunate enough to grow up in like a colored community and just
assimilate. He lived in one for a while.
Yeah, and just basically assimilate to a colored community. But say now you're growing up in Johannesburg, where you do get different people. What happens then? Like, would the colored community accept you because of how you look, or would they reject you because of your cultures? Would they exclude you? Would they other you? I mean, how would that situation work out in the colored community. And in the colored community, like, are there any people who are mixed race?
Yeah, we are lots. We are lots. Look, like when I grew up, I felt as much as your friend did. I felt like an outsider growing up there. I couldn't relate to colored people. I just said, you know what, this isn't for me. And I kept to myself and my group of friends who accepted me. And as I grew up, I chose to get more involved. And I decided that, you know what, this is where I'm growing up, so I might as well make the most of it. And now I don't see any lines. But, I mean, that's, of course, with my friends. I don't have people look at me weird. And in our community, which is, I would say, like 90% colored community. I mean, there are black people that live amongst us. There are white people. I have a lot of friends that are mixed, white and black, that are our friends in our community, and colored and Indian. There's lots of us. So I just think it's also, identity is something that's personal to everybody. And I think that is the key thing, especially when it comes to colored people. They are very judgmental, though. They are, they can easily, like I said, it's us and them. A lot of times, it's still told today, is a lot about us and them. The community issues we faced with right now, because, I mean, we have a lot of power outages and all of this. A lot of it on these public platforms where we get to discuss our debates is us and them, us coloreds.
Sure.
Them being the rest of South Africa. Colored people, I feel, do put themselves in the box that they find themselves in.
Yeah, sure. Just tell us a little bit about the importance of Afrikaans, the Afrikaans language to the colored community. Yeah. How important is Afrikaans to the colored community?
It is of critical importance. I do not have a friend that does not speak Afrikaans. I personally don't speak Afrikaans. I can speak Afrikaans, understand Afrikaans personally. But like I know with my mother, because I've asked her the same question, when it was in the news and it was in the forefront, and still a topic very much so as my sister's in first year varsity, and the Afrikaans topic came up. And my mother said it's her language. She grew up, it's the language of her parents, the language of her grandparents. And she will not give up Afrikaans.
She takes ownership of it.
Yeah, she says it's her language. My dad's English, he's Indian, but they communicate solely in Afrikaans. And she always says it's her language. She loves it. It's beautiful. So colored people, they love their language. They love Afrikaans.
And I noticed that there's even a colored Afrikaans, right? It's not exactly like your formal Afrikaans.
Yes.
It's like
yes.
different. What are some of the interesting
different.
What are some of the interesting slang words that are there in colored Afrikaans? Like some of the differences.
Oh gosh. Well, a lot of it, we can't ever say publicly, but those are the best ones. I feel like if you had to say it in English, it would not have the same effect.
Yeah.
In Afrikaans, it's just the way they say it. There's certain things also that if you had to say them in colored Afrikaans, you're about to get slapped. There's like, do not say these words. Colored words, I think, because with white Afrikaans, it's very savor, is what the word is. It's very formal, very proper.
Yeah.
Whereas with colored, it's very flat. It's on the ground. It's, they always say like it's on the ground. They speak with a flat tone. They say words like bar, which is actually like you're excited,
Yeah.
In the colored context, like if you bar for someone, it's almost like, oh my gosh, stop sucking up,
Yeah.
Really. It's almost an insult. So a lot of the words within colored Afrikaans is almost to put you off most of the time.
Yeah.
It can put you off in a very nice way. They just have like simple words. They've got like words like nyata, and it's like
nyata,
keeping your cool. They adopt, a lot of things are adopted, but then put in a colored way and colored twist.
Sure.
But a lot of it is very humorous. But
So
also can get very heated.
Like for example,
use it in the wrong context.
For example, I know the word gwai, is that proper Afrikaans or is it like from colored?
No, can't say that. That's for cigarette. A gwai.
Oh, okay. I'm learning new things every day.
Yeah, and then they say like a nip. A nip is, the half bottle of alcohol.
Ah, yeah.
They call it a nip.
Okay.
It's the same way colored in Cape Town saying an enchi. That is also a cigarette for them.
So that's interesting. So no one else uses that apart from colored people?
No one else. Nobody else. It is really, it's really very interesting and intriguing. I have personally not been involved with those, but yeah, it's very interesting.
Sure.
We can have a full conversation and you won't know what is going on. Because it really differs. Cape Town Afrikaans, Cape Colored Afrikaans, Gauteng, like, they don't understand us and we don't understand them a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Simple words.
So it's different, like different dialects.
Very different. For example, for like a, like a sorbet kind of vibe, they will say an icy, and we would say an ice block.
Oh snap! Okay, so it's like it evolves. It evolves with the community, because that's one thing I understand about language. The minute you start separating people who speak the same language, the languages will evolve differently depending on their environment.
Very, very much so. And I mean, my cousins from Cape Town, we're always trying to pick out, why do you guys say this and why do you guys say this? But it's very entertaining.
Sure.
There could be a dictionary. I think that's an idea.
Please give us a colored dictionary. Please do that. Like, please get a bunch of colors together and like get like a proper dictionary for us.
I think South Africa needs one.
Representation of colored people in South Africa. That's what we want.
Yes, and I think it would be great. Like I said, with the way Funny Cows thing, everybody saw that, and black excellence was used, and colors got upset, and colors were like, you're taking everything from us. You see that all the time. Currently within our community, because we're having a lot of kind of municipal issues, then the whole debate opened up about within government. And, guys, we're not represented in government because, I mean, there's a lot of, like you said, the stereotypical things that people say. And colors are very harsh on each other, believe it or not, Their colors will always say, colored people are just lazy, and that's the problem. That's why we won't go anywhere. It can get really ugly amongst each other, but I think it's that understanding of being the same but being so different, and that is what colors really struggle with. That they are the same, but they are very different because they all see each other so different.
Sure.
Money is a big thing.
Yeah.
Also, the more money you have, the more it's kind of like, oh, you're seen as high buck. That would be the word for, snobbish.
Yeah. Okay.
You see yourself as high buck.
But that's isn't that a thing with everyone? Like, the more money you have, like the more people like ostracize themselves from you.
But very much so. And colors can get really petty about it, though. They can really make you feel like, oh yeah, you choosing to be an outsider. You don't care about the community. But it's like I said, it's that struggle within. It's really that struggle within.
Sure. All right, Zeenat Patel, who works in the social media industry, a great friend of mine, and a sterling lady. Thank you so much, Zeenat, for talking to me about this thing.
Thank you so much for having me.